good evening. Oh, I meant to get a glass of water before I started. Last time I did a macrame workshop, I talked so much that I gave myself a sore throat. So, well, I'll just have to talk a bit less this time. Well, 1 minute, I'll just grab myself a glass of water. Get comfortable, get yourself a glass of water maybe a cup of tea. Good habit. Hope you're having a good Tuesday evening. Just wait for people to arrive. Get settled in. And I'm back, just like that. We're making macrame snowflakes this evening, like this. Little fella here. We're going to go through a few stages of this process. And this video will be available later, so you can pause it, rewind it, whatever you need to do to learn the steps. I'm just going to share the link, so if you just sit tight and bear with me. Share it to the group. Oh, hi Susan. Nice to see you on a Tuesday evening. My laptop doesn't want to share, it's being very slow. There we go. Share to a group. Come on, you can do it, laptop. Here we are. Right, so we're going to make macrame snowflake. This is the super duper fancy one, which we will learn how to make in tonight's session. But what we're going to do is start off with the basic one and work out, so you can kind of, you can stay with me for as many of the stages as you want. So you can either make like a super fancy one like this, you can make a really simple one, or you can, yeah, make it in between simple and fancy. So totally up to you, wherever your comfort level is. Okay, I have shared that. And I might just, oh no, I don't want to listen to myself. There we go. It's just good for me to keep an eye on the comments on the laptop because they're a bit bigger. Sometimes I miss them on the little screen. And you might have some questions because macrame can be a little bit challenging sometimes. Oh, hi Tracy. Oh, that's nice. Some people are arriving. Right, so first off, while people arrive, you can do your simple snowflake. So if you got one of the macrame kits, it came with 2 little metal rings in it. There's a smaller brass one and a bigger one. Right, Catherine, you need, for the simple snowflake, you need, that's a really good question to start with, Catherine, thank you. I should have been telling everyone already. So for the simple one, you need about 9 pieces, and they only need to be little. They need to be at least sort of 4 inches long. You could go longer, 5-6 inches, just give it a haircut afterwards. Should have brought some scissors over for hair cutting later, but not my hair, the snowflake's hair. For the more complicated one, you need, let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You need 16 pieces. 16 pieces that are this long, which is about 24 inches, I'd say. It's about 24 inches. It's this length on me. If you've got long arms, go from your fingertips to just the other side of your shoulder bone. So maybe if you've got shorter arms, you might want to go to here. So 16 pieces, this long, and fewer shorter pieces. Yeah. Right, so if you've got the kit, we're starting with a smaller ring, and you're starting with your little diddy pieces. And this is a way to make just a really simple snowflake. I've started this one already, because otherwise I'll be here ages just showing you how to get started. And this is also how we start our more complicated snowflakes. So if you just want to crack on with the more complicated one and come back to the simple one later, then maybe get started doing this on the more complicated one. Once you've cut your pieces, if you haven't got a kit with pre-cut pieces, of course. So you fold it over, create a small loop, place the loop through your metal circle, and then put the 2 ends back through the loop. We're going to have a close-up in a minute, don't worry guys. I just thought while I'm waiting for people to arrive, you could watch a bit more of my face. So let's go through that again. So you create a loop by holding the two cut ends together. You pop it through your metal circle. Then you put the two ends back through the loop with the metal circle in the middle, and then you pull that tight. And you keep doing that. So you create your loop, put it through the metal circle. You want to make sure that all these, the loop goes the same way through the metal circle. If one of these, the loop is the other way round, you'll quickly notice that in the knotting, because you can see this side is quite distinctive from this side. Do you see the difference? Oh, hi Kim. Kim, you might be wondering what length bits of string we need. We've just been over it. You need 16 longer bits, like this sort of length, 16 bits. And you need, can't remember what it was, about 10 little bits. But it actually depends on the size of metal ring you're using, so don't let that catch you out, guys. You might not be able to use all those bits depending on the size of your key ring, which I didn't specify in the instructions, which was foolish, wasn't it? But oh well, we'll work it out as we go along. I have great faith in us. So we're working on the really simple snowflake at the moment, creating a loop, and this is how you start off your more complicated one as well. So if you want to get started on your more complicated one, you can do. No need to make the simple one first. It just is a nice option having a simple design too, just in case you get sick of macrame. I like to give people options. So you just keep threading these through until there's absolutely no space left on your little metal ring. And then you get the longer one, which there will have been if you had the kit, and if you haven't got the kit, just cut a slightly longer piece. My cat's keeping me company. She's vigorously grooming herself in the corner, so if you hear any weird slurping noises, it's not me, it's the cat, I promise. So just to clear that up, I wouldn't want anyone to think I was just slobbering. So you might find that you think you're done, but actually if you really push them all around, you can get a bit more metal ring, in which case get another bit of string in there. You really want to pack them in as tightly as possible to get the appropriate aesthetic. Tighten it up. And there we go. So this is your really basic snowflake. As you can see, this side round here, I've started the fraying process, and you just do that all the way round. And then you could cut these as short as you like, or leave them a bit longer. You can keep them random or make them very unified, but that is how to make a really basic macrame snowflake. Now, time to get more involved, guys. Time to get stuck in. Oh, why did I put this in a tiny little bag? Just to show me up on camera. Here we go. Right, so I've got a ring. It's about this big. So it's probably a bit big for a key ring. I'd say if you've got a big key ring, it would be the right size. We'll talk about how if you're using a slightly smaller ring, you might cut down the design. I think if you aren't using 16 threads, you could use, let me just do some quick maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could use 4 less, so you could use 12 threads. So if you're not using 16, you could use 12. I don't think you'd want to go less than 12. So you want to have a key ring that will fit at least 12 threads on it. But 16 is what I'm going to be using. So this is my ring. And you're going to get your threads, your ones that are longer now. And you're going to do the same thing to get started. So you're going to form a loop at one end. stick it through the middle of your ring, and then pull the threads back through themselves, back through that original loop you created. You want to remember to do the same thing where you keep your knotting so the sides look like each other. Maybe not the best way to explain it, but I will remind you by showing you the simple one again. This side here has that raised lumpy ridge going around the edge, and this side on the inside, very different aesthetic. So you want to make sure you keep your sides looking the same. We're going to be using the Chinese square knot in this, which if you've done a macrame plant hanger or most macrame projects, we will have covered. So I'm pretty, how do you attach the longer string to the small key ring? Yep, you just loop it on the same way. You just loop it on the same way you've looped on all the other small ones. So it's just the same loop and pull the two threads through, and then I didn't do the final stage, but you just want to tie a little knot up here, so you create a little hanger so you can hang it on your tree. At the moment this all looks a bit sad because it's a bit floppy, but there's a couple of things you can do. If you think it's a bit floppy, your threads, then you could use a bit of PVA glue, and you just use a bit of watered down PVA glue in all your threads. Leave it on a plastic surface, watered down PVA glue, and that will make your threads stick out nice and stiffly. Or a bit of starch, something like that. Iron in. So I'll just continue to add threads onto this bigger snowflake. Ooh. Remember, this video will remain available, so if when we start getting in the knotting it becomes a bit confusing, you can always go back to watching me later. Kim, with the small pieces, it's really just a case of how many fit on your metal ring. So just keep squeezing them in until you can't fit any more in. I can't talk and think about which way round I'm putting these bits of string. It's a problem. With the big one, it's a bit different because we need to make sure we've got the right number. So you're looking at 12 or 16 pieces, hopefully will fit on the key ring you have, or the metal ring you're working with. Yeah, probably good to watch it twice, Lisa. Nice one, Kim. Yeah, let's get on with the big one. The simple one was just like, you know, can be nice with macrame just to know that there's always something achievable. Ooh, things are falling over in my house. Yeah, Lisa, I think watching it twice is probably a good idea. And you know, it's always nice when you can fast forward to the good bits. So I'm just threading these loops on. And I will have a count before I move on. Can you? Yes, Lisa, you can definitely use a regular wooden macrame hoop. I've chosen ghosts. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, probably. I mean, I can see the cat, so I can't blame the cat. I think it's much more likely that I've precariously balanced something on a pile of stuff and then that's just fallen over. That seems to be more the norm around here. I'd love to blame ghosts, but it's all me. Can't remember what I was saying before that. Probably talking about macrame. I'm going to answer your question. Oh yeah, that was it. I was answering your question. Yeah, you can use a wooden curtain hoop. It will work. Only problem is, and I think it's a bit of a worry, it might be bigger. So you might end up having to use more than 16, which would be fine. So you could go up by 4 again. When I say so each of these ones is getting doubled over and becoming 2. So when I say you go up by 4, you're actually going up by 8 more strands. Does that make sense? So if we went down from 16 to 12, you then go down from 32, oh my God, the maths. You go down from 32 to 24 strands to actually work with. But because we're doubling the strands over at the top, you only need to cut 16. So if you're using a wooden curtain hoop, you might need to make it more. It just depends on how big it is. Just have a little play around. And you might also find you can have a little play around with my pattern and turn it into something that fits the ring you're trying to use a bit better. Because you don't have to stick religiously to what I've done. And it would be lovely if you don't. If you can, if you have any ideas of your own, give it a go. See what happens. You can always untie it, redo it. I know that sounds weird, right? But totally possible. So you'll start to find you're running out of space. I'm running out of space. It's getting tight. Try and make sure these strings are as even as possible so you get the same amount on both sides before you pull them through your loop. And keep double checking that all your loops are the same size so that you've got them in the right place. Right, got 2 more strings to get on. Now's a good time to count, just to check. So just for speed's sake, I'm going to count in 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, 2 more to add. 15, 16. No, I don't think it will be too big. I think it would be all right. How many metal rings you need? You just need 1 metal ring per snowflake. That's it, Lisa, that's the spirit. You commit to it and then you just keep going, see what happens. So, I'm just going to squeeze my last 2 on here. And then I think it might be time for close-up when we get into all the fiddly knotting. So you might have to really squash them round to get those last strings on, but the tighter the strings are around the hoop, the better it's going to look, really. So it's worth really squashing them up to get that really tight stringed effect. Okay, got a nice black bit of card here for contrast, so hopefully you'll all be able to see very well what I'm doing. Let's get in for a close-up. Just get some water down me so I can continue to keep my voice. Oh, before we go in for close-up, I just wanted to let you all know that I'm changing the running order a bit of the Christmas workshops because of the post has gone a bit rubbish and slow because of lockdown. So Saturday was meant to be the Wirework Star, which we'll still be doing, but we're just not going to do it this Saturday. We're going to do it a week on Saturday. This Saturday, we're going to make sock snowmen, which are my favourite Christmas activity because they're so much fun. And if you don't have a white sock, you could make a sock penguin. Also, very cute. So I'll create an event for that, probably tomorrow morning. So watch out for that. Yeah, sorry about changing the running order. It's just, yeah, getting craft kits out to people and I'm waiting for my bead order to arrive and it's taking ages because of the post. So apologies. Let's lower the camera. Here we go. Whee! Right, let's see. How does that look? So first off, make sure your strings aren't twisted. So make sure that they lie flat, so your string is coming off and they're not crossing over, they're just coming off totally flat. And you want to make sure that's the same all the way around. I'm going to move it up here and I'm going to start down here. So very much like the macrame plant hangers, we're going to work in 4s. I hope most of you have made a macrame plant hanger with me, because this project is going to be easier if you have. If you haven't, don't worry, we'll get going anyway. So you're going to put 2 in your middle and 2 on the outside. You're going to do 2 Chinese square knots now. We're not going to bother tying a knot at the end because we're going to be moving them around so much, it's just going to get confusing. So you're just going to remember, first the left hand side goes underneath, it goes over this one at the side, you pick up the one at the side and go through the loop that you created with that one. Pull it back up to the top. If you haven't done the Chinese square knot before, maybe take a little time to practice it. We're going to do lots of practice on this star though, snowflake, so you can just follow my lead. So then the right hand side goes, so left hand side first, then right hand side. Yeah, they're hard to squeeze on, aren't they? So the right hand side, under the middle 2, over the side one, and then pick up the side one and go back through the loop. So we're just doing 2 of the Chinese square knot there. I mean, technically that is actually just 1 knot now, because each of those is only a half knot, but we'll get confused. Let's call it 2. So you're splitting, you're working all the way around, splitting it into groups of 4. So we just move it round now, and we've got the next 4. So we've got the 2 in the middle and the 2 on the outside. So the one on the left hand side goes under the middle 2, over the one on the right. We're going to pick up the one on the right and we're going to go back through this loop we've created. I'm going to pull this up to the top. So we always the first knot's the one on the left hand side going under, and then the second knot, the one on the right hand side, goes under the middle 2, goes over the one here, pick up the one on the left and go back through that loop. We go top to bottom and pull it up and pull it tight. And then we move on to these 4. Just working our way around, dividing them into groups of 4 and putting in our 2 knots. Left hand side first, under the middle, over the side, pick up the side and go back through that loop. Pull it up to the top and pull it tight. Then we go right hand side, under, over, pick up the left hand side and go back through that loop. Left hand side, under, over, pick up the right hand side and go through the loop. You know what? I don't think there's many times I'd like to have 3 hands, as much as I'd like to have 3 hands when I'm doing macrame. Pull those knots up, it would just be so ideal. Just an extra hand to hold this loop, perfect. So if you just pull the knot up quite gently, just sort of wiggle it up to the top, and then when you get to the top, give it a tug, and that will really help secure it secure the knot in place. Now we're going to take the right hand side one, go under the middle, over the left hand side, pick up the left hand side, go through the loop and do the same thing. So move the knot up to the top quite loosely. When we get to the top, give it a nice tug. And that tug you give at the top really helps your knots remain even. Your snowflake won't be as rigid and you'll end up with wiggly knots if you don't give that knot a nice tug. Again, with this snowflake, if you do think you make it and it hasn't got enough rigidity, you can use some watered down PVA, soak it in it, put it on a plastic sheet to dry, and then your snowflake will be nice and stiff on the tree. I think I might try doing it to my snowflake just to see what the effect looks like. But yeah, a little bit of watered down PVA. I've got some lovely Christmas ornaments actually, which are made out of old crocheted doilies that have been soaked in PVA and made them into beautiful rigid snowflakes. Don't worry, I'll go over this knot again when we get to the next 4. I hope you're all managing. If any of you want me to go over the knot more or slower, or you're struggling, just give me a shout, because it's not a really simple knot. There's a few steps involved and it's easy to mess them up. You can take the one on the left hand side, go under the middle too, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right and go back through the loop here. Pull it up to the top, gently, gently, wiggly, wiggly, and then when we get to the top, give it a good, nice big tug to tighten it up. Then we're going to take the one on the right hand side, so left first, then right. And the other nice thing, if we always stick to that pattern, left first, then right, you get a lovely pattern in your knots, which is, you know, not necessary, but it really makes my my inner perfectionist happy. My very deeply hidden inner perfectionist. So you pick up the one on the left and go back through that loop. So we're coming to our last 4sies here. There's going to be a lot more of this, so don't worry. So the one on the left hand side goes under the middle too, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right and go back through the loop. Pull it up to the top. That's all right, Kim. You can always rewatch the video, don't worry. And it's better anyway, rewatching it. You can pause it, rewind it, whatever you need. And this first stage is, we're going to keep using this knot, and the first stage is quite simple. You're just tying 2 knots in every group of 4. So easy to get started on this stage. So the one on the left hand side goes under those 2, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right, go back through that loop. Pull it up to the top. Then the one on the right goes underneath. So one on the left first, then the one on the right, over the one on the left, pick up the one on the left and go back through that loop. Pull it nice and tight. Okay, so now we're going to divide them into groups of 4 again. When we divide them into groups of 4 this time, it's a bit different because we're going to split these knots we've made. So you're going to take 2 from one knot, one group of 4, and 2 from the other group of 4. You're going to take the 2 that are closest to each other. So don't crisscross any over. I hope that's obvious from what I've done there. I hope you can see. what I mean, but we've taken 2 from this knot that are close to each other and 2 from this knot that are close to each other. I think that's pretty clear what I mean. And that forms a new group of 4. So the middle 2 are the ones that were on the outside, and the outside 2 are the ones that were in the middle. So let's get going. Left side goes first. Thanks, Tracy. So the left side goes first. It goes under the middle 2, over the one on the right, and pick up the one on the right and go back through that loop. Going to pull it up to the top. Then we've got the one on the right, goes under the middle 2, goes over the one on the left, pick up the one on the left and go back through the loop. And we'll pull it tight. So I'm just going to put in 2, 1 minute, let me just check my pattern. Don't want to get it wrong, don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing and be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and that's not actually what I'm going to do. So we're going to alternate now. This is for doing my fancier design. But what you could do, if you don't get along with the fancier design, is you could just do a few more knots along here and just do that all the way round. I'm not going to have time to show you how to do both, but this is a simpler version if you just extend this knotting out on all your groups of 4, and you do end up with a really nice looking snowflake. I might make one like that later. But to make this bad boy, we're going to be crisscrossing the threads over. So we're going to get on with that now. So I'm just going to put in 2 knots here, and I'm going to move on to my next group of 4. I'm doing the same thing. Should be more obvious this time because you've got your 2 left over from this one, and you've got your 2 from the one next to it. You put your 2 in your middle, you start with your left one, it goes under the middle one, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right and go back through. Now this time we're going to do 4 knots. A whole 4 knots, loads. So I think for this one, it might be worth putting a little knot in the end of that one that always goes underneath. And that'll just help you remember when we come back to it later. Actually, it probably would have been worth doing that with the original 4. We'll do it when we get back there. So when we come back to it later, that one with the knot in the end is the one that goes under. Doesn't matter which side it is on, it always goes under. So there's my first 2 knots. And then again, make sure you get these nice and tight because that will make your snowflake sturdy. Just double checking what I'm doing. Yep, 4 knots. So that's 2, this one's 3. Forget to pull it nice and tight, and this one makes it 4. Give it a good old tug and move on to your next group of 4. I'm really curious to see if we overrun tonight. I think we might not. I think this might be the perfect project for length of time of this workshop, but saying that now I've said that, we'll almost definitely overrun. So I'm putting that little knot in the end of the left hand side one to remind me that it's always the one that goes underneath first, over this one, pick up this one and go back through the loop. And we're doing 2 knots again in this one, so we're alternating 2 knots, 4 knots, 2 knots, 4 knots to make the fancier pattern. If you want to keep it simple, you could just do about 8 knots maybe in each one of these and call it a snowflake, because it will look like one. It just won't look like the snowflake that I'm making. So we're doing 2 knots here, goes under the middle, over this one, pick up this one, go back through the loop. Drink some more water. honestly. I did this macrame plant hanger workshop for the hub last Thursday and I lost my voice. I was talking so much about all these knots. I just, yeah, wore it out. So I thought tonight, be careful, Beth, because it doesn't matter if I lose my voice or not. I've still got to read storybooks to Fia or she's not happy. Just croak them out. So I'm putting a knot in the end of the left-hand side one. To remind me, it's the one that always goes underneath. It goes under the middle two, over the one on the right. Pick up the one on the right, go back through. So we're doing 4 knots here. So you're alternating. You do 2, then 4, then 2, then 4. And if you've put the right number of strings on, if you're very lucky and it's worked out right, fingers crossed, you won't end up with a 4 next to a 4. It'll be like 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4 all the way around. So the one with the knot in the end always goes underneath. Pick up the other one, go back through the loop it's created. And make sure you're pulling those knots nice and tight. The tighter the better. Wriggle them up to the top. When you get to the top, nice and tight. So 4, and this one's going to be a 2 knotter. So the first one I made, so these are actually slightly different thicknesses of cord. This one is more like a 2mm cord, I think, and this one's more like a 3mm cord. They were both sold as 3mm cord, but this one is a bit on the thin side. And I actually think with the 3mm cord, it's going to be a lot stiffer. It's going to be a lot more rigid. So that's something to look forward to. I already like the fact that these holes here, they're a little bit more defined. A bit small in the 2mm. So next Tuesday evening, I'm afraid we haven't got a workshop on. It's the Macrame market. Woohoo! But I have tried to run a workshop on the same night as the Macrame market and it gave me an absolute headache. It was just way too much juggling for my head. So do check out the Macrame market if you've got no plans for next Tuesday, because it's always a lot of fun and a great opportunity to get some nice discounts on your Christmas shopping. Yeah, so that's exciting for next Tuesday, but yeah, no craft workshop because I can't do both without my head exploding. So I've put a knot in the end of the left hand side one. I'm putting 4 knots in here. So next Saturday, snowmen and penguins. Next Tuesday, have a night off. And then the Saturday after that, we'll be doing the wire wrap stars, which will be great. Ooh, and then the Tuesday, so 2 weeks Tuesday, we're doing the rag Christmas trees, which is such a nice project. I'm so pleased with it. It's my own design and I think they look absolutely great. And I just need to finish mine off so I can share a photo on the group because it's such a lovely project. The rag Christmas tree. And if you've ordered any of the kit bundles or the kits, there's a little mini rag wreath project which you can bring along to the rag Christmas tree project. It's the same technique. So yeah, sorry, I'm not talking about macrame anymore. I'll get back on track. Let me talk about macrame for a while. So I'm putting 4 knots in here. So this is a 4. I think I've only got 1, 2 and then 1, 4. And I've got all the way around. Yeah, I think timing might work out on this one. So the next 4.
So this is a 2. Do keep double checking whether you're doing a 2 or a 4, because it's so annoying if you get unpicky knots. It's the worst. So I put a knot in the end of the left hand side one, go under the middle 2, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right and go back through that loop. Pull it up to the top, tighten it up. The one with the knot in the end goes under the middle 2, goes over the one on the side, pick up the one on the side and go back through the loop. Tighten that up. So that's my 2, and now my final 4. My final 4 and also my final 4. So if the next stage of this, I'm going to put a knot in the end of the left hand side one. If we start doing the next stage of this and it's too much for you, it's too complicated, or you can't get the tension right, because it is a bit of a tensioning situation, then all you could have to do to make a beautiful snowflake is just extend these groups of knots up into points, about 8 knots in each point, and you will end up with a beautiful macrame snowflake. Otherwise, you're going to follow me. I'm just putting in my last 4 knots. That's 2. The one with the knot in the end always goes underneath first, goes over the one on the side, pick up the one on the side, and we go back through that loop. Wiggle it up to the top. When you get to the top, give it a tug. Get those knots as tight as possible. This project, more than any other macrame project you've done, it's good to have tight knots. Right, so the next stage. You've all gone very quiet. I hope it's because you're working really, really hard. Let's see. So I'm just checking my pattern, because there's nothing worse than when you make a mistake on live video. It really is quite an unreasonably awful feeling. So the groups of 2. Yeah. Just talking to myself. Don't mind me, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. So the groups of 2, we're going to take the side ones to the groups of 4, and the side ones are going to go into the middle. So we'll have from the 2, let's organise this so hopefully you can see it. So we're going to have the 2 in the middle that were originally there. Then we take the 2 side ones from the groups of 2 next to it into the groups of 4. Then we're going to take the one with the knot in the end. We're going to go under all those 4. We're going to go over the one at the side, pick up the one at the side, and go back through that loop we've created. Now this is the issue. This is the tension problem I was talking about, because you want these ones to be just the right tension. The best way to achieve that is to pull this knot that you've just created, like not tight, medium tight. So it's kind of securing the strings, but you can still move them quite freely. Then, I've just unpulled it by doing that. Then you just wiggle around these 2 strings until you are happy with their placement. And then you give it a really good tug. Make sure you get it nice and tight, because it's quite important to hold those all in place. So the one with the knot in the end goes underneath again, over one side, pick up the one side and go back through that loop you've created. And then just put in 2 knots there to secure that one in place. And then we move around to the next group of 4. And we're doing the same thing here. So the 2 in the middle. Give me a minute to get my threads all sorted out. I know it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? The 2 in the middle, and then you get 2 from the groups of 2, and they're the outside ones. They're the ones that were doing the knotting, and they go into the middle of your groups of 4. Now's a good time to make sure your groups of 4 sort of stick up the right way, that they're not leaning off to one side, which I've just noticed that mine are a bit. So just have a wiggle around of them. Make sure you're happy with the direction they're pointing. So put those 2 from the outsides of the groups of 2 in the middle. Get your one with the knot in the end. Go under, over, through the loop. You pull that single knot down. Make sure you're happy with the placement of those 2 side ones and the gaps here and here. When you're happy, do pull that knot nice and tight and create a second knot, which you also pull nice and tight to hold that in place. And move around. So the next group of 4. Just gonna have some of that water. Losing my voice. Feel it happening. So you put your 2 into the middle. You get your 2 on the outside. The one with the knot in the end goes under the middle 4, over the one on the side, pick up the one on the side and go back through that loop. You're going to tighten that up. Tighten it up. Make sure you're happy with those string placements. Sorry, you should have done that before you tighten. Well, they're all right anyway. And then put in your second knot. The one with the knot in the end goes underneath, over the one on the side, pick up the one on the side and go back through the loop. Pull it tight. And then move around. So you've kind of created a square here. You see what I mean? You see my square? Yeah? You put your 2 side ones into the middle. Just put 4 in the middle. The one with the knot in the end goes under those 4, over the one at the side, pick up the one on the side and go back through that loop. Pull it down. Make sure you're happy with everything's location. You can always, after you've tightened that knot, you can always, if you need to, wiggle them around a bit and put in your second knot. There we go. Oh, pulled that too much. See, that one was a little tight. It's making it, so that one, this thread was a little tight, so it's making it curve up. So I was trying to pull it back and just pulled it out. So watch out for mistakes like that. And then we move on to the next phase. If I can remember it. Let me just double check. Don't want to get it wrong and tell you the wrong thing. Okay, so we're going to use a different knot now. I know, crazy, right? But it is also a really easy knot. Much easier than the one we've been doing. So you're going to move on to the ones that were just 2 knots. So not the ones that have lots of strings. You've just got 2 strings sticking out of these 2 knot ones. You're going to take one of the strings. I'll do it facing you actually. You're going to take one of the strings. You're going to form a loop over the other string and then pull it back through on the inside of itself. So let's just do a still of that so you can see what I'm doing. You see? Like that. Pull it up to the top. I think it's 4 of these knots. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it looks like 4 to me. So over the one that's in the middle, round it, back up on the inside of itself. Again, pull these knots lovely and tight. That tightness really makes a difference. Do the same thing again. And the last knot, So this knot will want to twist a bit, and if it does, just let it twist. That's no problem. Just make sure your knots are nice and tight and that there's 4 of them sticking up. Nope, I was wrong. It's not going to be the perfect length project. We're going to overrun, but that's okay. I don't think we're going to overrun by too much. So you take one, go around the other one, pull it up, you go over the top, and it comes back on the inside of itself. You pull it up to the top and you tighten it. Pull it nice and tight at the top. 4 knots, that's 2, 3, 4, this one's the 4th one. And like I said, it's going to want to twist, just let it. It's kind of the pattern of this knot that it like twists around. So that's kind of part of the design, to let it twist around. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just maybe look close up. It's got this ridge of knots and it kind of twists around the middle thread. Right, last string. So please, please, please get on the group, share photos of anything you make tonight, even if you've just made the simple one, even if you're not happy with the results, because it's just as good to share our failures, because like it encourages other people to have a go. You know, you don't have to be a master artist. It's just good to try new things, try and be creative. And just the process of trying to be creative is good for your brain, and it will like open up your world to more creativity. So don't be scared of sharing, even if you're not best pleased with the results. I've got to say, I try not to be. And that confidence is really important, especially if you're doing creative stuff with kids, young adults. They will be very much influenced by how you react to your art. So you should be confident in what you do. If it's not if you're not happy with it, don't be afraid to say that. But you know, just be confident. It's still good. It's still good you had a go. It's still important, and what you make is important. So share photos on the group, because it'll make me happy as well. Because I imagine that you do this all at home, but you could all just be leading me on with your comments, and you could actually not be doing anything like macrame. So I'm just putting in the final one of my 4th knots. The final of my 4 knots. On that one. Okay, next stage. So we've got our 2 here, and we've got our 6 either side of it. Just double check my pattern. Don't want to get this wrong. So you're going to take the 2 outside ones from the group of 6 back into the 2 here. And they go from the outside and become the inside 2. Yeah? Not confused yet? Oh, you should be. Then we're going to put in 2 knots. Go under, starting on the left hand side. The right hand side goes up, it goes through the loop. I'm going to pull that down, and this is when the tension gets really difficult to get it right. That first one is not too hard to get the tension right, but there's this loop and then another loop, and they're a bit more tricky to get a happy amount of tension. So we're going to put in 2 knots here. So the right hand side goes under second, and we're going to pull that nice and tight. So again, you can just fiddle around with it until you're happy with that tension. Not too loose, not too tight. You want it to lie flat. Thanks, Susan. Thank you. It's nice to know you're not just leading me on. Oh no, I've done it wrong. I knew this would happen. Too much talking. Well, I'm just going to stick with it. I'm just going to follow through with my mistake and pretend it's not a mistake and hope you guys don't notice. I shouldn't have said anything, damn it. So the two from the outside go into the middle. The one on the left hand side goes underneath, over the side one, pick up the side one and go through the loop. This is the problem with the patterns, is you know, mistakes. But I hope I can inspire you by just keeping going and changing it up. I'll tell you what the mistake was later, and maybe we'll prefer this one. Maybe this new design will be better than the original. Let's find out together. I'm excited. The one on the right hand side goes underneath, over the one on the left, pick up the one on the left and go back through the loop. Gonna move around to the side. The two from the sides come into the middle. And don't get the one on the left hand side, go under the middle two, pick up the one on the right and go through the loop. You might start to find that some of your threads are getting a little short, but don't worry, we haven't got much more to go. Just putting in 2 knots here. And the last set. So the ones on the outside, they go into the middle. The one on the left hand side goes under. We pick up the other side and go through the loop. This is when you really start to notice that I wasn't very careful about... You're getting confused, Susan. Think how I feel. Don't worry, you can re-watch it, pause it, rewind it, whatever you need. I hope it's not too confusing once you get, you know, stuck in with the strings, and you can pause me. But it's nearly 8 o'clock, so I just need to get going. So at any point now, really, you can finish it and call it a snowflake. But I'm going to see this project through to where I thought it would conclude. So that would do. That would be a beautiful snowflake. Just tie a knot in each of these ends, call it a day. But I'm going to keep going. The next stage is to go to these groups of 4. So the original 4 knotters. And now we make a decision. You might need to take the knot out at the end because it might be in the wrong one at this point. It is there for sure. Make a decision about which one's your outside ones, which one's your inside ones. This one's my outside one, it's on the left. Gonna go under the middle 2, over the one on the right, pick up the one on the right and go back through the loop. Why, thank you, Kim. And it would certainly do, wouldn't it? You'd certainly call that a snowflake, not consider yourself a slouch. So 1 knot, and then you take the right one, under the middle 2, through the loop, and that's your second knot. And we're going to do that in all the original 4 knotters. Again, like I said, you might have to take those knots out on the edge because they might be on the wrong one. It's that left-hand side one that goes under, it goes over, you pick up that side and you go back through. You pull that knot up to the top, pull it nice and tight. And the one on the right-hand side goes underneath, it goes back through. You pick up this one, you go back through the loop. Pull it nice and tight. not a knot in this one. Curious, curious. Where's the knotted one gone? I'm not going to worry about it. Just keep going. Sorry, I'm just speeding through, but I think you will start to see the pattern emerging, and hopefully you'll be able to. So I'm just putting those 2 knots into all the original groups of 4. I'm just choosing the 2 which look most like the middle 2, the 2 that look most like the outside 2, because we've taken the outside ones away. The left hand side goes under the middle, it goes over the right hand side, and the right hand side goes back through the loop. Pull it up to the top. Tug, 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 tug. And get the right hand side, we go under the middle 2. Over the left hand side, pick up the left hand side, go back through that loop. And pull it up to the top. There we go. Right. So now, our final stage. Let's get this right, Beth. Focus. So this is where I've gone off the original pattern. So I'm just trying to decide what I want to do, as I've not stuck to the original pattern anyway, so I can do whatever I want, can't I, really? Totally up to me. And that's the joy of this sort of thing, is you can do a bit of making it up as you go along. It's the part that I love. I think it's the part that makes it really fun. So I'm just going to try something now. Might not work, might look awful, might undo it straight away and not show you what I've done. Just taking it off camera so you can't see it if it was a terrible idea and I've made an awful mistake. Well, it's not a terrible idea, it looks nice, but it is too heavy, so we're not going to do that. But it did look nice. I wonder if there's a way around that. Well, the PVA glue would be a way around that. I wonder if we could do it with a square knot. Let's try it. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling now, aren't I? Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Yeah, that works. Let's do that. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 that are closest to each other from your groups. So 2 and 2, make 4. 2 in the middle, 2 on the outside. Left hand side goes underneath, over that one. Pull it through. And again, this is a tensioning issue because you don't want it to be too tight on any of those 4, where it's going to pull it massively out of place. You want to get those 2 knots nice and tight. And then you move on to your next 4. So 2 from those one side and 2 from that side. 2 go into the middle. 1 on the left hand side goes under and over. And it does that twice. That one's very short. These might have to be my last knots. You'll be relieved to hear. We're nearly there, guys. We're so nearly there. Thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I've got 3 of you left, but I know plenty of you will be coming back to rewatch this because it's a bit of a rewatch one, I think. If you want to get it perfect, just practice that Chinese square knot until you're super happy with it. and just play around with these tensions in the knots as you make them, because getting these tensions in the knots is going to make you the perfect snowflake. Sorry, wiggling it around. Now, I haven't brought any scissors over, so I'm not actually going to finish it off live on camera because it will need a haircut, but you'll get to see all the knotting. And I'll tell you how I'd finish it. It's literally just a bit of trimming. And I will pop a photo up on the group of my finished fancy macrame snowflake. You know what, I actually much prefer this one to my original design, so I'm so glad I made that mistake and got to go on this adventure with you guys. I hope you don't mind. Thank you for humouring me. In January, I'm planning on doing a gemstone themed month. So we're going to be making lots of different craft items with gemstones in. So I've got quite a few exciting macrame projects planned for January. Yeah, we're going to be making some macrame stone settings, some macrame bracelets with gemstones. Just thought it's quite nice doing these themed ones, and there's no theme to January other than it being a bit rubbish, so I thought that could be quite fun. That's all right, Susan. That was what I thought. I thought if people have the small one, they can always do that during the video and then come back to the more complicated knotting once they've got a bit more. Well, once they've got that rewind button, basically, makes all the difference. Yes, Kim, I'll do that on the group. I'm going to have an event making session tomorrow, so all the events will be up, which will help you remember. But the wire wrap star is not next Saturday, so it's a week on Saturday. So the wire wrapped star is a week and a half, and I cannot remember the dates of the beaded wreath, but I will make the event for that, so you'll have all that information at your disposal sometime tomorrow. Right, this is my my last two knots, I think. We'll see. Could just keep going. I can't, I'm gonna run out of thread. I think the wire wrap star on Saturday is going to be on my page, Nevermore Boutique Kim. Definitely. I think the beaded wreath is a Saturday Nevermore Boutique one as well. But I'll share them to the group as normal, and I'll also be posting up probably tomorrow all the information about when they are and what pages they're on for you. But yeah, all the Saturday ones are on my page, Nevermore Boutique, and the Tuesday ones are on Shop in the Square. So, here we go. Ta-da! Inchier beauty. Right, so now what you do to finish it off. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna get the scissors. Let's go all the way. Let's be satisfied. First off, this is important, find two long bits sticking up And those can be the ones that attach to your tree. Tie them together, and there you have your loop for hanging it on your tree or your window, wherever you want to hang it really. Then make sure these knots are nice and tight, because you are just going to cut about a centimetre down. And this is the lovely thing about making a decoration and not something you have to wear, is you can just have loose bits of thread sticking out. You know, if this was a bracelet, you couldn't do this because it would come undone with all the wear, but it won't come undone on your snowflake. So you can just fray those ends a bit, and then you get your nice fluffy snowflake edge. So then you move on to your next two. You do the same thing. You cut your side ones, and you can fray them a bit like that. And then these two in the middle, you can just cut them and fray them as well, which I think would look good, or you could tie them together in a knot, which is what I did in the other one, but I'm not sure it's going to look as good with this thicker thread. I think the knot might be too chunky. Yeah, I think it's going to be too chunky, so I'm just going to go with trimming them as well and fraying them. So I might cut them a bit longer than a centimetre, and then you can always cut it down shorter if you decide it would look better shorter. But you can't cut it longer. Haha, that's what they say, isn't it? Can't be cut longer. So then I'm not going to fray all of these because we've overrun by 10 minutes and I am tired. Just going to work my way around my snowflake, because you don't have to fray them as well. Actually looks quite nice with them not frayed. Slightly regretting fraying them. Don't know, like them frayed as well. Don't think you can go wrong really, either looks good. So this is a great project. If you get into your macrame and you're making lots of plant hangers, you're going to have lots of offcuts that are about the right length for making this kind of thing. And you can make small ones if you've only got little offcuts, and bigger ones if you've got bigger offcuts. So I think it's a really great project for using up some of your scrap materials. Where's the best place for it? There we go. Ta-da! That's the snowflake finished. I'll just say a proper goodbye. Let me just pop the camera up. So thank you so much for watching. As you can see, it turned out a little bit different from the original, but I think better. So that's the joy of the creative process. It's not always the same outcome, and I hope that you can take that into account when you make yours and be pleased with your results as well. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Saturday, maybe, on the Nevermore Boutique page to make some sock snowmen or a sock penguin if you've only got black socks. I'll be making that event tomorrow, and it'll have a list of materials. There are kits available, but you won't get it in time. Yeah, all right then. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I'm actually really pleased with my second snowflake. It's good because I was quite pleased with my first one, but I guess that's how it works. You make one and then you do something a bit different for the second one, and you're pleased with that as well. So yeah, maybe make more than one if you get the chance. Yeah. See you on Saturday, and next Tuesday no workshop on the Tuesday because I'm doing the Macrame market, and also the shop's opening. Oh my god, I can't believe I've spent the whole workshop and not told you that. But yeah, the shop in the square is reopening along with other shops on the 3rd of December, the 4th maybe. It's a Wednesday, the 3rd, so it's reopening on the 3rd of December. So if you're looking for some lovely handmade Christmas gifts and you live in Wolverhampton, go to the shop in the square. It's the perfect place for you. And I will see you on Saturday. Bye bye, guys.